Hey, everybody, in this episode of Box Office Breakdown, Quentin Tarantino's new film isn't strong enough to knock Simba off the top of the box office charts. We're going to break it all down next.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Box Office Breakdown. Of course, it's the show where we look back at the box office that was, and then we...
Bree, can you do this with me? Because I don't have my other person.
You coward.
Okay, Prague. Stay.
Oh, look at that. By the box office that lie ahead, I am Frank Moran.
What's up, Kari Lane here.
And making us look good and sound even better, Bree in the booth.
Hey, everybody.
The third person to our panel here, Amy Cassandra Martinez, nailed it.
Yeah.
is not with us today, but she'll be back here next week to talk all about the movie goodness we've got coming up. Especially, next week's huge, Hobbs and Shaw. Oh, get ready.
Right.
I think it should be a national holiday when that comes out. But, folks, we'll be breaking down the box office reviews there. We'll get up to date on our box office bets. Mm-hmm. And we'll look ahead at next week's box office bet on Hobbs and Shaw, as well as do a spoiler-filled review on Quentin Tarantino's new film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. But first off, folks, like us on Facebook. Give us those 5 stars on iTunes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give it a thumbs up while you're there. 2, 3, 4, 5. And, Kari, if they're watching after we stream live, what can they do?
Yes, Frank, y'all can comment down below.
Fantastic. So without any further ado, let's just jump back into this week's top 5.
Yes.
Coming in at number 1 is The Lion King, still holding on strong there, with another $75.5 million to its box office total.
I was trying to think of a good pun, but they were kind of escaping me.
It's great.
Its roar
lions.
was heard.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
No.
we have talked many times about how we felt about the Disney live action adaptations and stuff.
Air quotes on live action.
Yes.
On this one.
But I still have not seen the film yet.
I haven't either.
I haven't felt that really strong oomph. But there is one person. Yes, there's one person that did. Bree, what did you think?
I thought the film was really beautifully shot. I thought it was a really fun film, and almost frame for frame the exact same film as the cartoon. There was a few added scenes, and the 2 drawbacks for me were that the animals didn't have any kind of emotional responses in their faces, and that I was not a fan of Billy Eichner.
Cool. Chat can hear you now. Thank you,
Perfect.
Chat.
Sorry about that, guys.
No, thanks
And
for
it should
repeating.
be prepared. It's a little bit more low key, correct?
Yeah, it's definitely
It's
not
as epic.
That the jokes were not as vamped up in this one, I think, because they wouldn't have hit really well because of the live action aspect look. So they kind of toned down on the really too over the top jokes.
Gotcha.
So, Bree, after watching that, I'm sure you're just like, hey, I like it because I like the original. But did you, at the end of it, go like, that was fine, but I really see no reason why, other than money, that this exists?
I mean, I think of that way for a lot of the live action ones. I mean, some of them are really fun. I think some of them don't need to exist. But I do think that it is a fun way to bring in a new generation of kids to the film. And
They can watch the cartoon.
They
too.
could, but I also do think it's really fun that they did, use a more diverse cast for this one than the original. I think that's a cool thing to do.
So if you had a kid, 6, 7, 8 years old, and you wanted to show them The Lion King, would you show them the animated version, or would you show them this one?
Maybe both. Maybe start with the animated one and move up to this one later.
Got it. All right.
Kids like to watch the same thing, so yeah.
That's true.
Anthony Fortuna says animating real life animals was a mistake. Neela J said the voice acting and the singing was mediocre, and that they were underwhelmed with Donald Glover's singing and voice acting. Interesting.
Well,
I'll get to it probably later.
yeah.
As I do with a lot of the movies on here, I'm like, I'll get to it later.
I guess I've had a couple opportunities but I've just kept on putting it off. I'm like, whatever. I'll get to it.
Yeah.
So,
Not making you rush.
No, not stampeding.
See, there we go. I was like,
There you go. Coming in at number 2 in our top 5 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Quentin Tarantino's 9th film. As I said, I'll do a spoiler-filled review at the end of the show if you want to tune out. But overall, my feeling is if you just want to see a great slice of life film without any really heavy plot, and you enjoy kind of Quentin Tarantino's aesthetic, then you, I guess, will enjoy this film. So I'll get more into it later.
that is not selling me yet.
How about Brad Pitt man, his six pack, well, beautiful. He looks fantastic. Now that's selling you?
Not enough.
How about a great fight scene between Brad Pitt's character and Bruce Lee?
That'd be cool.
It was brief, but yeah, I mean, and certainly Brad Pitt has, he's done Fight Club, he did Troy, but I never really, and he did Mr. and Mrs. Smith. But my first go-to for Brad Pitt is not necessarily action guy, even though he's done those films.
He looks like he's physical enough to do that, but no, not necessarily what he does all the time.
So it was cool just to see him, even though it's a very short scene, it was cool to see him in like a little mini fight scene.
I mean, we'll get more into it later, but did you like Hateful Eight?
I did, but I'm a sucker for a Western.
Okay, because I had some people online, they're kind of like, oh, they hated Hateful Eight. They didn't really get into, like, they dislike Westerns or something like that. But I enjoyed Hateful Eight. I mean, it's definitely a slow burn, but it's a Western. So, But also Slice of Life is making me not as... Slice of Life normally does. I'm like...
Yeah, I mean, you can reach the end of this film and just say, like, okay. I mean, I spent 2 hours and 41 minutes with these characters.
Because it's long, right?
It is. If you like shots of people smoking and you like shots of people driving, I mean, and a lot, then this is a movie for you.
Okay.
We'll get more to it, though, at the end of the show. Coming in at number 3, Spider-Man, Far From Home. Another, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood brought in a little over $40 million. Spider-Man Far From Home did $12.2 million. And number 4, Toy Story 4, another $9.87 million. And rounding out our top 5 was Crawl from Paramount with $4 million straight up. You haven't had a chance to see Crawl yet?
Nope. But I did see one from a while ago. I finally saw Robin Hood via HBO. And I actually did enjoy it. I forget, because you said you hadn't seen it, right?
I hadn't seen it.
Okay. It's definitely the vibe that the trailer gave you, though it was really kind of weird because... So the movie has talking about Robin Hood that came out like a little bit ago. In case people are like, what are we talking about? It has like the narration of, okay, forget what you know and blah, blah. This is not like the traditional Robin Hood story. And I'm like, okay, cool. But then they have like Robin Loxley goes to the Crusades. And I go, okay, sure. I'm along for that ride. But then the way they film it, you just sit there and go, did we turn into a contemporary like Middle East war movie? Because the style of it and the fighting, which is also not necessarily bad, but you go, wow, that was a okay tonal shift. And then he goes back and Jamie Foxx's character, teaches him better fighting techniques and stuff because they meet fighting and turn events. They stay together later. It's way more historical fantasy fiction. And I say fantasy in the terms of like some of the clothing seems almost contemporary. And like it's not very historical in style. Like there's some clothing that you could wear today and nobody would bat an eye really. Or there's like the coal mine and it feels super contemporary industrial, or at least like much more modern. So kind of more like Knight's Tale, like historical aspect to it. And it's way more just like the fun and the action and the fighting and the arrows. So I thought it was cool, but it's definitely not like traditional to Robin Hood as a story, but I thought it was a cool take on it.
Not as good as the Kevin Costner one.
I did like the Kevin Costner one a lot. And then come on, speaking of originals, the animated one is so good too.
Yeah.
But it's just a different vibe. It's if you saw the trailer, it's the same kind of vibe as the trailer. So
all right,
I think they sold you on what the vibe was.
All right.
But yeah.
One other film that one of us has seen is a film that Kari's going to tell us about.
And I was like, and another one. Well, actually, speaking of action and adventure, there's a new movie. It's coming out on the 16th of August. Let me grab that. And it's called Kingdom, and it's by Funimation Films, but something kind of random tidbit that's interesting. So it's technically set in China and like China history of kind of uniting all of the China provinces to like one country essentially, but it's Japanese actors and they're speaking Japanese. So I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. So it's these two guys that end up as friends. their goal is to like become the greatest generals because they're slaves, and they go, okay, well, that's the way you could rise to power, is being like a swordsman and getting prowess that way. But one of the friends is taken away and has to go work for the king, and then the other friend gets reunited with them, and then it's like action, adventure, and fighting. And I really liked the action style fighting. It does take a little bit to get to it, but the fight scenes are great. There's like a female character later that's like not a huge surprise reveal that it's a girl, and her fighting is really cool, and you're just like, where'd this come from? And it's fun, and it is over the top. And so Brie, kind of speaking also back to talking about Lion King and like the expressiveness or something versus animated and live action. Something I really do like about Japanese films is for us here, you could almost say it's overacting, but it's just really, it's as if like anime came to life it's just intense and energetic, and it's very fun about that. And side note, it has so far made $31 million in Japan. So I'm like, that's cool. So Funimation Films is also a division of Sony Pictures Television Funimation, which is like, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm trying to see, but yeah, come out August 16th, check local theaters. Yeah, action, adventure, and check online for local theaters to watch that. I do recommend it, really. Yeah, if you like historical drama, action, and there's actually a lot of comedy, or there's a moment where the main guy, Zing, he's very brash and like kind of obnoxiously arrogant, but he's not totally wrong. Like, he just has no sense of being subservient to the royalty and like, I don't care, I'm just gonna be me, and kind of attitude. And he says like this plan, and the other characters kind of, no, that's actually like a good idea. And it is. You sit there in the audience, you go, that was actually a good play. And so it's just kind of, I like when movies do that, where you, the audience, have a thought and then the character expresses it, and you go, oh, good, the logical progression of what I thought the character also thinks. Because too many other movies, you're like, what are you doing? That you're just being dumb or something like that. So yeah, check out Kingdom.
All right. So folks, we knew we were going to be gone for 2 weeks because Amy and Carrie are both having a wonderful time last week.
Yeah, Comic-Con.
Yes. Follow all their social media adventures. All videos, I'm sure. All posted, more to still be posted.
Yes, I covered the press room for Van Helsing, the show, and
that a salute to the great Hugh Jackman film of old.
Which, I actually like that movie.
Oh, come on!
I
come
do.
On.
Yes.
Oh.
Did the press room for Van Helsing, which was cool because, speaking of another show, did you ever watch Battlestar Galactica? Mm-hmm. Cylon 6, the one in the red dress, blonde.
Yes.
She's now in Van Helsing.
Oh.
And I got to interview her. So I was like, oh my gosh. Because I was like, I knew who that was. And a couple of my friends were like, I don't watch Battlestar Galactica. I'm like, you should. It's really good. Also, the press room did a roundtable for The Expanse, which they've already been renewed for season 6. So that's amazing. Amazon, that they're all ready for that. As well as The Boys. We got to get some of that as well. I have not watched it yet. And those are those press rooms. I also got to see the experience for the Orville and Pennyworth, which were really cool experiences. So Orville had props and wardrobe, and then there was a special day, and the cast came and did photos, and then they also had people in costume, which was really, really cool. Nice. That is on my social media. I posted an interview. I interviewed a woman who's in charge of wardrobe once it gets to set, which is fun, of talk about wardrobe malfunctions and other costume fun things. And then Pennyworth, I have not watched that yet, but that's the idea of Alfred before he's Alfred with Batman.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard good things about the pilot, so.
But I like their experience because it made you feel like you were in the world. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, very nice.
I'll be posting more of that, and I also got to do the Walking Dead experience, and I have a little video of that. But their experience thing was fun. You're like, I've fallen off the Walking Dead. That one's dead to you.
That's right. But folks, we did 2 box office bets knowing that we would be gone.
Yes.
So first one was on Lion King, and our second one was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And our totals there, oh man, humble bragging. It's like,
I probably am not.
I mean, it was a double header for me.
Oh,
Just crushed it. So coming in our loser for Lion King, Amy Cassandra Martinez with 135
That's why
million.
she's not here.
That's why
she's
she was
like,
afraid.
I knew.
She's so afraid. Don't worry, we'll remind her next week. I know I will, for sure. Then we had Carrie at 140, Brie at 162, myself at 175 to win this. Its opening box office total last week was 191 million.
Oof.
So yes.
Aim for the
That's right. Aim for the stars?
end of the Serengeti.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't
sure.
know. Where the horizon... all the puns are not here today.
And then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it did $40 million here. So our a loser for that one is Brie with $58 million.
Oh, no want for you.
No.
No, that's just for Amy.
Then we had Amy at Amy's third place there with 57. Then Carrie 37. Look at that, so close. And then myself $42 million.
So, because then I'm 3 off, you're 2 off.
That's right. Look at that.
But you already saw it.
Oh.
But I didn't lose, so.
I didn't lose.
And I didn't lose either.
That's right. So look at that.
Guess I don't gotta see it.
But folks, will be doing another box office bet. And usually we turn this over to you folks there in the chat to help us decide which film we'll be doing it. But there's only one film, and one film only. That's all we care about. And that's Hobbs and Shaw.
Yes.
The latest spin-off. The next kind of hint of the into the Fast and Furious world. We will be doing our box office bet on that in just a little bit. How excited are you?
I am excited. I think I saw another trailer, and I'm like, I don't even need to watch any more trailers. I want to see it.
Well, just a quick thing about some international numbers here. Lion King crushing it there in the international box office, lapping up $142.8 million from 53 offshore markets, bringing the overseas total to $611.9 million, with a worldwide total of $962.7 million through Sunday. It also helped push Disney to a new all-time yearly global box office record of $7.67 billion.
Oof.
Whoa.
Just a little bit of money.
Surpassing the previous record by the studio of 7.61 back in 2016. Look at that.
Make the dollar bills, yo.
So overseas, Disney has become the first studio to cross $5 billion in a single year, with an estimated $5.09 billion to date. And those don't include any of the Fox titles. It's just pure Disney.
Oof.
Yeah. So basically, Disney gets the records with the aid of 3 other movies that have topped over $1 billion in 2019. We've got Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel, and Aladdin. And who knows how Spider-Man Far From Home is doing. It's tracking really well. Mm-hmm. So, that is Disney is becoming quite the film juggernaut. Toy Story 4, which is at $917.9 million globally through Sunday, just saw a slight drop overseas. And then we've had Spider-Man Far From Home, as I mentioned, is also getting ready to cross the $1 billion worldwide. It's actually, I shouldn't say that for Disney because it's a Sony film, even though it's a Marvel Studios overseeing it, but it's really a Sony production. So Sony's going to be basking in that glory there, but they should be happy if they're getting close to $1 billion to stay in that relationship with Marvel, because Marvel is definitely doing well by that character. Mm-hmm. So, and then we've got and now what's likely to be the next $1 billion crossover is going to be for Disney. It's going to be The Lion King. So it should get there in the next few days. And Toy Story 4 picked up another $19.4 million in 40 markets, and that lifts the international total to $522.3 million and $917.9 million worldwide. Oof. It will soon pass Shrek. Oh,
wow,
Shrek.
go Shrek for having so much.
I did not realize Shrek did that much, but
Right?
it's become the number 11 animated release ever, and Pixar's 5th outing in that group.
Are we going to mention, since Amy's not here, just what Endgame did?
Yeah.
Yes,
And she's
that's
not
true.
here to
She's
celebrate
not here
for
to
it?
celebrate. That's right. Finally, Endgame passes Avatar.
You know, our own Neil, though, on Twitter pointed out, I think, I don't have the tweet in front of me, but pointed out, it's like, yeah, but Avatar made that money on its own, and Marvel's Endgame has an entire franchise behind it. So
True.
just saying. And I'm like, that's a good point of, they have no previous films they have names attached, sure, but Endgame has 10 years prior of Marvel films to lead up to that. Like, if it had just dropped that one and you had never seen the others, might not have made those numbers. Just saying, as I sip my tea.
No, you have to give James Cameron credit. These are original creations that he's putting together. And, the stories may not be fantastic.
Right.
But he just finds a way to
Made
get
a world.
audiences to tap in. And They get sucked in, and now that's
Yep.
why we're getting 4 more Avatar films.
Yeah.
Get ready, folks. Lots of Avatar coming into your life.
Yes.
Oh, whether you want it or not, it's coming.
You're like,
So,
I'm inside.
yeah. Folks, we're going to get ready to do our next week's top 5. We'll do our box office better than Hobbs and Shaw. But before we do that, I wanted to take an opportunity, and I'm sorry that Amy's going to be missing out on this, but we'll take a moment to do our power ranking, a box office power ranking of the Fast and Furious franchise.
oh man.
There you
Okay.
go. We've got 8 films in the series. Surprisingly, Fast and
Do you
Furious.
have
1 through 8.
summaries of them?
What? Oh my gosh! Well, of course, so you've got Fast and Furious, where
Okay,
they're just robbing VCRs
You know,
and all that
I
stuff on
think
the backs of trucks.
when did I rewatch? I rewatched them all for number 7, and
What if you guys just did your top 3? Maybe make it a little easier.
No, I'm just trying to think too, because Tokyo Drift is better than people give it credit for. I'll start with that. If only because the problem with it is it's a different character, and that kind of threw some people for a loop, because you're like, wait, I really like these people, and now you're giving me something else. I think it's actually, and then that's the third, right?
That is third. Tokyo Drift.
I think the second was not as good.
I mean, that's the one where there's
like-
no Vin Diesel. It's just Paul Walker and Tyrese doing their thing.
Miami.
Yeah, they're hanging out down there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that one was like, I almost want to pull that one from the franchise. That one didn't do it for me. So that's one, 2, 3. What's 4?
4 is when they get the original cast back together, but it's really 5 when they introduce the
Yeah, I
Rock.
feel
I feel like
5
that's
was-
the injection of like,
Yeah.
yes.
That's the turbo.
That's when they hit the nitrous
Yeah.
on that franchise, and boom, that went off.
What about you? Do you know?
Me,
what
I would go 5.
You're like, I'm
is,
ready.
5 is number 1 for
Okay.
me, because I feel like that film
They
just
hit their stride.
They hit their stride. I mean, they really kind of got everything back on track in 4 when they brought back the original cast, because it's, you want to see Vin Diesel, Paul Walker, great, but Paul Walker by himself in that world, not as interesting. I feel
Right.
like he plays off better against having Vin Diesel
Sure.
to play against them. But the two of them, I felt once you introduced The Rock into that as somebody that is smart and formidable, I felt like that really was the boost that you needed. It's as opposed to them like, we can always just get one up on these bad guys. It was
Yeah.
Hobbs was a good guy trying to capture them,
Yeah.
and so you were actually had a vested interest in seeing him win. So I felt like that was a great 6. 6 is 5 is the summit for me. That's right there, and then you get
Which one was
6.
6?
I mean, 6 is where we find out.
Which one has the tanks on the ice?
Oh, that was the latest
That
one.
was 7?
That was 8.
That was 8. Okay, that one
Yeah.
was a little bit absurd.
No,
But by then you're like, whew.
5 is when they do the whole big heist in South America there. So they get the bank.
Okay,
they
I
rip
think
the vault
5 is
out there.
probably one of the. Yes, I would agree. That's probably
6
one
is
of the
when
best.
Gal Gadot's character, she dies on the airplane as they're trying to
Yes.
taking off. 7 there is when Paul Walker unfortunately passed away, so they had to deal with kind of writing
Right.
his character off in the franchise. And then 8
See,
is when you get
gave
that.
great summaries.
There you go. And then 8 is then, of course, where you see Clint Eastwood's son step in, Scott Eastwood.
Yeah.
Where you felt like that was going to be the Paul Walker character. Because what I had read that originally we had Kurt Russell as Mr. Nobody.
Yeah.
They were going to tie it in that he could possibly be Brian's father, which would have been interesting to see. But I feel like the franchise lost a little bit when Paul Walker
Yeah.
passed away.
And no, Tokyo Drift is the third one.
But
So-
but it comes in much later in continuity if you're looking at the film series.
This is true.
In
That's the other
continuity?
thing. You can't necessarily watch them in that order.
Yeah, basically you watch 3 after 6. Then you drop in 3, and then you bring in 7.
I still think 1 should be up there as well because it just started it all. Come on.
Live my life a quarter mile at a time. All
Okay,
right.
I guess maybe I'll do 5, 1, and 3.
All right, that's your top. All right.
Sure, as my top 3.
5,
Thanks,
1, and
Bree.
3. Okay, 5, 1, and 3.
What about you, Frank?
I'm just gonna go 5, 6, 7. I'm gonna go that
Okay,
way.
yeah.
Yep. I mean, 1 is fine.
Yeah.
But it introduces you to a world, but then the world just got so much better once you brought the Brock into it.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm excited about Hobbs and Shaw.
Yes.
Let's see, because one of my favorite fight sequences in all those films is in part 7,
So, which part?
where Jason Statham and The Rock, they go...
The parking garage?
Yeah, at the beginning, where he goes and fights him in his headquarters. And then it's a really quick scene,
Yeah.
but then he throws a grenade, and then they jump out.
As you do.
Yeah, and that's, The Rock, he flexes out of a cast so he can go and beat some ass.
It doesn't work like that, but that's okay.
You don't know that.
Casts don't do that.
If you're The Rock, it does. You flex, boom. See those guns, it is. So that was our quick little power ranking. Folks, if you haven't got into the Fast and Furious franchise, you owe it to yourself to do so, especially before Hobbs and Shaw. I feel like that is now going to just take all the cool over-the-topness of this franchise and distill it to its essence in this film.
I do like that the series goes, oh yeah, we know. And they do the over-the-top. And then you go with it because it's just so fun. And like, I know that I used the word fun a lot earlier as well, but like that's what I want when I go to the movies. I want to be entertained. I want it fun. I mean, yes, there's horror, but then that's a different kind of fun. But these are that action, and you go, yeah, we just want to watch the craziness.
I mean, there's always this talk, especially because Jason Statham's character, he kills Han, and
So that is where you go,
So you're feeling like, how can this character ever be redeemed? Because he killed that person. So it makes sense if you're going to want to do anything more with the character, you spin him off with The Rock because he doesn't have any attachment to necessarily the family. But what I think is interesting, at least in the trailers, is that you see it's very much playing those two butt heads throughout the course of the film. Which, I mean, I guess you want to see that for sure.
Yeah.
But it seemed at the end of 7 that, the end of 8, that they kind of reached
there's like an understanding.
Yeah, they kind of like smiled at each other because they understood where each other was coming from. So for me to see the trailers where they're already like hating each other again, I'm like, what happened? And maybe we'll find out.
That's what the movie's for.
That's right.
And Frank, I'd like to note that there's a couple people in the chat that agree with me that they also like the Hugh Van Helsing as well.
Oh, come on. That film,
Thanks.
I wanted to love that film, but
Thanks, everybody.
the redesigns, the
Hugh
redesigns
Jackman's.
for all the characters was just thumbs down.
Okay. Mackers. Oh, yeah. Let us know. Leave comments down below. Which are your top 3 and in what order for the franchise of Fast and Furious? Maxter's Tube says, I also like Tokyo Drift and number 1 and 5, but not in that order. So let us know what your thoughts are. And then Sky Patterson agrees that 4, 5, 6, and 7 are solid.
No, that's true. I mean, 4 kind of sets it, and then 5 just goes, yeah, we got this, guys.
Yeah.
Boom.
It's on cruise control.
There you go.
There we go. Puns are back.
Finally got it.
Yay.
So, folks, we're going to do our box office bet here on Hobbs and Shaw, Fast and Furious. But before we do that, we've got next week's top 5 to go. Now, we've got Hobbs and Shaw coming out on 4,200 screens. They've been
it's going to be number 1.
The heck out of this.
Oh, yeah. It's The Rock and Jason Statham.
I mean, but it'll be curious to see, as much as I love the universe. I mean, this is their real first spin-off from the Fast and Furious franchise. And the Fast and Furious franchise is a juggernaut for Universal. It's the number 1 franchise.
Yep.
I mean, the last film crushed its opening weekend there. So how much do all these fans all of a sudden just go right to Hobbs and Shaw? Do they care if you're not going to see Vin Diesel? You're not going to see Tyrese. You're not going to see Michelle Rodriguez. How much are they a necessary part to make you want to go see this film opening weekend?
I think once you're in the world, you're in the world. And I think there'll be a lot of people that, even if they've never seen any of the Fast and Furious, they're a Rock or Statham fan. So they'll be like, yeah, I'll check it out. And it just looks like a cool action movie. And there's a lot of people like, this is the summer blockbuster popcorn movie that people get excited for. Like, yes, action, blowing things up, fast cars, fight scenes. Like, that's like perfect summer movie mix.
All right. So do you see for next week's top 5, basically this goes to the top and everything drops down 1?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
All right. So that makes it a pretty easy top 5.
Ryan says there is Fast and Furious 7, then 6, and then 5. Okay.
Interesting choice. All right.
Interesting.
Okay.
And then Yusuf, Frank watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and he'll be talking about that shortly.
Yes.
Not movies. I'd also like to add I watched all of Chernobyl. That's an awesome and horrifying and disturbingly fascinating miniseries.
All right. So,
Side note,
as time's wrapping up, let's do our
money.
box office bet. We're talking about money. Let's talk about how much money Hobbs and Shaw is going to pull in.
a lot.
4,200 screens. 4,200 screens.
Do you have what the last Fast made?
Oh, I can tell you that right now.
Yes, let's look that up. Well, Thunder God Curio says, I think it will underperform domestically, but do really well internationally.
It opened at its opening for Fate of the Furious was a like $98.7 million.
I still think this could do really well.
Okay, that was domestic. So globally, it did huge numbers. So, all right.
Swing for
You
swing for the fences.
I mean, I already
Give you a
know
hint.
I'm seeing this baby.
I'm planning to see this one.
Let me type in my number here. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
All right. Bree, are you ready to go?
Yes.
All right. What number do you have for Hobbs and Shaw?
Gonna just.
Yeah.
This is so hard just because I'm one of those people that I just don't watch Fast and the Furious. I'm gonna say
Those
112.
people.
Ooh,
Okay.
Nice. Like it. You got to start living your life a quarter mile at a time. You'll feel better.
They're fun. And they make for a good marathon.
They do.
105.
105
Yes.
for Kari Lane. As much as I was jazzing for it, I went a little lower. I went 85.
Okay. Well, we got to have all the numbers there.
That's it. Yeah, we gotta have them all.
I also was going to say, if you are a fan of the character Han, and you haven't seen it yet, highly recommend Better Luck Tomorrow. He's essentially the same character, and so it's like Han before he's Han. So it's like him in, are they college? I think it's college. And he's the same vibe. He has a cool car. I was like, I watched that movie, not quite putting the pieces together. I go, oh my gosh, it's like Han's backstory, because it's the same director
That's cool.
for at least one or two of the Fast and Furious movies.
So you just do like one Fast and Furious 1, 2,
And then go watch Better Luck Tomorrow, and then hop
then
in.
4, 5.
Yeah.
there you go.
We're giving you
Perfect.
a big old marathon. Yes.
Folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Box Office Breakdown. We're going to do a spoiler-filled review in just a moment of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, a super rapid-fire 60-second spoiler-filled
Well,
thoughts.
you're the only one who saw it, so.
That's true. I'll talk fast. But for folks, those of you who are jumping out, thanks for joining us. Like us on Facebook. Give us those 5 stars on iTunes. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Give it a thumbs up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. However many you can. And thanks for sticking around for our show. But Carrie, Popcorn Talk Network is not just Box Office Breakdown.
This
you
is
want
true.
it to be,
yes.
but it's not.
I know you love movies because you're watching this show. So thank you for tuning in and watching our program. If you're interested in more, you are going to want to check out Meet the Movie Press. It is every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So the show is hosted by Forbes reporter Simon Thompson and other renowned LA critics like Scott Menzel, Dimitri Panos, and others, and they talk about the biggest stories in movie news. Again, that is Meet the Movie Press on Fridays in the morning, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yeah, I mean, what better way to jump into an active box office weekend
Right,
than finding out
you're
what the
getting
latest
ready
scoops.
for it. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. These guys will set you up for a fun-filled movie weekend. So, folks, if you want to follow any of us on Twitter, though, and keep the conversation going, Bree, where can they find you?
You guys can find me at Bri, BRI_Phipps, PHIPPS on Twitter and Instagram.
And my name is Kari Lane. You can find me online at Kari D Lane. That's KARIDLANE. And my anime after show, we're taking a hiatus. We'll be back for My Hero Academia if you're a fan of that. And then follow me for more news because my schedule is getting crazy soon. So awesome.
Oh, must be nice. My schedule's not going to be crazy. I'm just going to be here, guys. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at HappyGoJackie. Folks, that's going to do it for this non-spoiler-filled part of Box Office Breakdown. But we're going to jump to the spoilers in 3.
Spoiler alert!
Spoilers.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, it is... What I felt about it is, as I mentioned, it's a slice of life. Which you like about that, if you do like that in a film. If you're just interested in characters and just seeing scenes and situations and you don't need really huge overarching plot, then you may enjoy this film. I watched it, it's 2 hours and 41 minutes, and it was like, all right, I enjoyed my time there, but at the end of it, you're kind of left like, that's it? It really plays on your nostalgia of seeing a time there in the 50s and 60s of when Hollywood is changing. The recreation that they did for that is just extraordinary, the way that they brought to life. I mean, it is all done practically. So there's no digital backgrounds or anything like that. They reconstructed the original kind of outdoor locations.
Oh, that's
and then
cool.
They basically built facades, and then they could only shoot one side of the street at a time, be months in between. But they would drop these buildings these facades right in front of the original spots to shoot and then lift them all up.
Oh,
And
that's cool.
so they built them in warehouses and they rehearsed it, how
Yeah.
quickly they could stack them in and lift them out so they could do their shooting quickly. And then months later, they'd go and do the reverse side. So the faithfulness of that is great. And you do feel that if you love movie history, and then this film will speak to you in terms of that kind of nostalgia factor. You do love that, and the brushes with real life, real Hollywood history is great. The character's interesting. If I were, Sharon Tate, there's been a lot made of that, and Quentin Tarantino does what he done in *Inglourious Bastards*, a little bit in *Django Unchained*, where he plays with history, and things don't necessarily play out the way that we know that they do. So, the Sharon Tate character, while he was criticized for Margot Robbie not having much to do in the film, I mean, the character, you get to just see what life would be like for her if things change, things played out a little bit differently. So it's an interesting film. I thought Brad Pitt was incredible to watch. I really enjoyed his character. Very kind of a laid back kind of guy who does have some questions about his past that the film never quite answers. But if you also want to see, people will criticize Quentin Tarantino on his kind of, where he's rough, for how women are treated in some of his films. The finale of this film does nothing to change that. So if you already have that opinion, Quentin Tarantino, you're not going to leave that film thinking any different. But this is I would think a little bit more of a more upbeat and optimistic film than you usually get from Quentin Tarantino. Despite some of the bits of brutality that you might get, but that doesn't really come to the end. There are moments of dread and suspense and tension built in a lot of these scenes, and that gives a little bit of payoff at the end. I think it's a fun watch. I don't know if it necessarily goes to my number one in terms of if you're thinking of Quentin Tarantino films. I mean, I think just for me, just how kind of transformative and formative, I guess formative for me, what Pulp Fiction was, just in the way that his fractured storytelling and the characters and the dialogue. For me, that just kind of sits at number one for me. But I do need to give Jackie Brown another watch because I feel like that also has kind of slice of life aspects to it as well, and kind of a slower pace. There are scenes, real quick, of Brad Pitt driving throughout Hollywood as he's making his way to Panorama City. Yeah. There are lots of scenes of that, and these scenes go on for a while. But there's part of it you're like, why are we seeing these scenes take so long? But there's also part of it you're just like, I'm just kind of digging it. He's just driving through like old Hollywood, and you're just kind of enjoying the backdrop and the scenery. You're like, okay, cool. But it's worth checking out for sure. But I know some people are really responding to it.
I'm hearing mixed bag with that movie.
I think it also has to depend on where you are in your life, because Leonardo DiCaprio's character is somebody that's feeling like their time has come and gone in Hollywood. Maybe they're being forced out, or he's going to be a failure. Yeah. He's reached that point in his career where it's either you got to take a leap, or you're going to crash and burn. And I feel like anybody that's kind of having those feelings of like, maybe I'm being forced out of my career, or the profession that I love so much maybe doesn't want to love me in return. What do I do with my life if I can't do the thing that I really love? So depending on how your feelings are towards things like that, this movie could certainly impact you differently, depending on how you feel about that. But I still think it's shot beautifully. Brad Pitt was great. I still think it's worth a watch in the theater. That's what I'll say about that film. Okay. So, folks, that was my long and rambling soliloquy about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Frank. Lovely.
Was it?
Yes.
Great. A great soundtrack if you want to go check it out. If you love Batman and Robin, there's a great vintage radio ad that plays at the end of the film, and it's also it's only available if you get the whole soundtrack. It's not available as a single. So check that out, folks. We'll be back here next week for another episode of Box Office Breakdown. Will Amy be here? She better be, because we got to tell her how much she's been losing lately. But until then, folks, go see some movies.
See ya!
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.